Hi everyone, welcome to another episode today of Awesome Maths. Today we will move to some questions regarding probability. As always, these will be slightly tricky, complicated questions, and we will have to solve them using some very cool logic. Probability questions come a lot in all exams. Each exam will have at least 2 or 3 questions regarding this, and hence it is always a good idea to do your homework about probability before you appear in these exams. Okay, so let's go to our first problem.
Okay, so here is our first problem. Before we start to solve it, let me again request all of you gently to please subscribe, like, and share my videos so that all these kinds of videos can actually reach out to even more people. And also please send across to me some comments about any new kinds of problems which you would like me to solve. With that, let us now move on. So here is our first probability question for today. A problem is given to 4 persons A, B, C and D whose chances of solving it are 2 by 7, 1 by 2, 3 by 7 and 2 by 5 respectively. What is the probability that the problem is actually solved? Okay. Now I had initially solved this problem and I will just show you step by step how we can go through it, right? So first of all, we will just put two labels. One is probability of solving the problem. So that is the answer to this question, which is what will be the probability that this problem is actually solved, that we will call PS. And PUS will be the probability of not solving the problem. Now, probability of not solving the problem is effectively equal to the total probability that none of these 4 people, A, B, C and D, none of them is able to solve the problem. So what happens is, if each of them is actually not able to solve the problem, it means that obviously the problem is not solved. But if any of them solve the problem, then what happens is that irrespective of the fact if one of them solves it, 2 of them solves it, 3 or 4, I mean, if all of them solve it, that's even better. But if any of them solve it, that means that this problem is solved. So what is the probability of none of them being able to solve this problem? That is 1 minus 2 by 7, which is basically the probability that A cannot solve the problem, into the probability that B cannot solve the problem, which is equal to 1 minus half, into the probability that C is not able to solve the problem, which is equal to 1 minus 3 by 7, and also the probability that D is not able to solve the problem, which is equal to 1 minus 2 by 5. Clear? So this is the probability that none of them can solve the problem. Multiplication of each of the probabilities of each person not being able to solve the problem. So from here we get this is equal to 5 by 7 into 1 by 2 into 4 by 7 into 3 by 5, right? We multiply these together. I mean, we can even have this cancelled and have it done that way, but I just prefer to do it in a longer fashion. So 5 into 4 into 3 is equal to 60. 7 into 7 equals 49 into 2 into 5. So that is equal to 490. Cut off the 0 and 0. So the PUS that sorry so the PUS is equal to 6 by 49, right? Hence PS, which is equal to 1 minus PUS, is equal to 1 minus 6 by 49, which is 49 minus 6 by 49, which gives us a final answer of 43 by 49, right? So basically that means that probability that this problem is actually solved equals to 43 by 49, right? So wasn't that awesome? Moving on now to the next problem. Okay, so here is our second question. 3 dice are rolled together. What is the probability of getting at least 1, 2? So as we all know that on every dice, it has got 6 faces with each of the numbers 1 to 6. So what they're asking us is that we have got 3 dice here. What is the probability that at least one of them has got the number 2 on them after it is rolled, right? So in this question, what we can say is probability of 1 2, right, getting at least one number 2 is equal to 1 minus the probability of getting no 2 at all, right? So if we get no 2 at all, then obviously, I mean, we are not about to get a 2 on any of them. Whereas this is the probability of getting at least 1 2, right? So now what is the probability that there is no 2 at all, right? Now for each of the dice, right, what is the probability that there will be at least like 1 2 coming? I mean, what is the probability that if we just roll one dice, we will get 1 2? That will be equal to 1 by 6, right? Because there can be 6 different outcomes, 1 to 6. So to get one of those numbers, probability of that becomes 1 by 6. What is the probability that we are not going to get a 2 on each dice? So on every dice, 1 minus 1 by 6 is the probability that we won't get a 2. So this will be equal to 1 minus, so for the first dice, not getting a 2, the chances are 5 by 6, right? Because we can get the numbers 1 3 4 5 and 6 but not get a 2. That is 5 outcomes which have got no 2 out of the total 6 outcomes possible, into 5 into 6, which is for the second dice also, into 5 by 6, which is for the third dice as well. So this term here is the probability that there is going to be no 2 at all. So what does this give us? 1 minus, so 5 into 5 is 25, 25 into 5 is 125, 6 into 6 is 36, right? 36 into 6 gives us 216. So we can just do this, 216 minus 125 divided by 216. So what does that give us? That will give us 91 by 216. So the probability of getting at least 1 2 when we roll 3 dice together is 91 by 216. Okay, moving on now to the third problem. Okay, so a bag has red and blue balls totaling 100. If the probability of picking a red ball is x and a blue ball is 4x, how many blue balls are there in the bag? Now this appears a bit difficult because we have all these x, 4x terms and all, but as we will find out, this is actually a pretty simple problem to solve. Okay, so our first step is, let R be number of red balls and B be number of blue balls, right? So what is x? X is equal to the probability of picking a red ball. So x then will be equal to R divided by 100. Similarly, 4x, we put then here. Similarly, 4x, which has been given to us here, how many blue balls are there? So there are B number of blue balls. So B is equal to, 4x is equal to B by 100. However, what we also know, is that x plus 4x has to be 1, right? Because there are only red and blue balls. So we also know that 4x plus x is equal to 1, right? Because that is the total probability. 4x is for finding a blue ball and x is for finding a red ball. So the total probability, right? So 4x plus 1 will be equal, 4x plus x will be equal to 1, which gives us 5x is equal to 1, which means x is equal to 1 by 5, right? Now substituting for x in this equation where 4x is equal to b by 100, what do we get? So substituting for x, let us call this equation 1, we'll call this equation 2, in 2, that will give us 4 into 1 by 5, which is 4 by 5, right? 4x 4 by 5 is equal to b by 100. We have substituted in 2 because b is what we need to find, right? So which implies b is equal to, we bring the 100 to this side, 100 into 4 by 5. So we can easily see that this will be equal to, this will go in here 20 times, that is 80. So number of blue balls is equal to 80. Just as a double check here, since it appeared to be so simple, if there are 80 blue balls, how many will be the number of red balls? It will be 100 minus 80, which will be equal to 20, and obviously the 80 is equal to 4 times 20, hence the probability of picking a blue ball will always be 4 times the probability of picking a red ball, right? So thank you and see you in our next video.